What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of freaking whatever this show is. If you're wondering why I'm in such a great mood, we just had our first event that I literally had the idea of, gave it to Dr. Ziegler. He created it. We got it all in place. Jenna went out of her way to make sure food was there. Everything was great. I was one of the only other speakers. There's only two speakers. I'll let you guess who the other one was. I was the other one. And out of the event that had over 600 photos, there's 3 of me. Now, should that be what I should be upset about? Yes. Is it what I'm upset about? No. Let me tell you what I'm upset about. That one of my partners in crime didn't go to battle for me and say, what the hell is going on? Why is there only 3 photos? Why are there only 3 photos of a guy that I spend most of my time with outside of my family? Did he do that? No, he didn't. He didn't. So let's move on. Dr. Ziegler, how are you doing? And then we'll go to Deacon. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm wildly entertained. I had a great time at Travis's last week. Won the first pickleball game of the league, so I think I have to head back. Oh no, that's tonight. I got to be back tonight in Ohio for the next pickleball game.
Yeah, that is tonight.
Yeah, that was good. So many cool brands at that event. That was really fun.
In case the audience doesn't know what this event is, Doc, fill them in on what happened. Where were we this event?
So we had what we called it the first annual PPC Funhouse, where we had about 20 to 24 entrepreneurs, somewhere around there, come into my house, and we just put on a little event. I showed them how I built and sold iLove for a multi-million-dollar exit. And then Justice, you talked about the mindset between 6, 7, and 8-figure brand owners. We then masterminded. Everybody came up. They were on the hot seat. They put their challenge out to the group. We solved that challenge. And then I ended the day with going over our plan to build $100 million empire in freedom brands.
So here's something we'll definitely cover. Dr. Barry's. Here's what I was curious about. We'll start with Deacon, then we'll go to Doc. What were your biggest takeaways? And it can be takeaways from, here's what I was surprised that I saw in some of these other, sellers, these brand owners, or here's what I actually took away from it from for me and what we're doing with Dr. Barry's. So it's whatever takeaways, there's no judgment, but what did you take away from the event? And then after you, Doc, I'll actually share mine as well.
I'd say my biggest takeaway is people still just want hacks and tactics, and I just want to shake them. I just want to shake them. A hack and a tactic is nothing. You can't build a business on that. You can build some cash flow for a time period on a hack and a tactic, like an opportunity, a product opportunity, but you're not going to build something that's real, that can be sustainable. When I was building my practice, I wasn't thinking what tactic could bring in more patients today. It was always how can I build long-term rapport, a rapport in my neighborhood? And I can't say that word, but in my community. So people keep coming back to me over and over again. So it was a long-term play. And so I really emphasize long-term visions, long-term strategies, long-term plays versus short-term hacks of today. And there's so many out there now. I mean, every Amazon conference you go to, it's all about short-term hacks, short-term strategies. There's nothing about it that's long-term. And so that's I wanted people to start shifting that way. And I've been talking about that for years. However, people still just want hacks and tactics. So I had a 20-minute session. I don't even know if you saw that, of hacks. And I was like, here's the hacks. And everybody's like, oh yeah. You guys might have missed it.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to step on yours here, Justice. But thinking back through, mine's not a specific aha moment or any particular nugget, but my favorite part was people would get up and, there's your opportunity, share your problem with the group, and they'd share all kinds of different problems. Some of them were very, very specific things, and some of them were a little bit more nebulous. But whatever it was, there's a 50% chance that Justice would ask them 3 or 4 questions, and you'd immediately be like, oh, who even cares about the original thing they brought up? They're like, have this other problem, or they're thinking about this wrong, or the reason they even want to achieve that is wrong. I don't know. Wrong's not the right word, but it's like they're wanting to achieve that result that they are after. Doesn't even maybe line up with their thing. And so I just love, I think it's amazing that I get to hang out with Justice for free. At least I haven't gotten an invoice lately, but
It's coming.
You're just so good at like the mindset stuff. It was really fun to see people show up with their question, and then 5 minutes later they're like off in some other world they didn't expect, and you're like, oh, I saw it coming, but they didn't see it coming. But I know you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, my takeaway, it kind of confirmed my presentation, which was on this, 6, 7, and 8 figure mindset. It was like, oh, like one wasn't necessarily better than the other. Like, obviously, like I want to have an 8 figure mindset, but like sometimes it's like the 8 figure person isn't good at the 6 figure thing. Not every business was built from scratch. And so sometimes like you partner with people that can get things started and off the ground 0 to 1. But they just struggle to think the same way. It takes 1 to 2, and you hire those people that can help you, and sometimes you don't. But the biggest takeaway I had was confirmation in that, and we had some of those people in the room. The one story I could share is we had one guy. He's awesome. He sells something here that is like you're basically being made here is a big deal. And some people will buy this product based on it just being here. And his one thought was like all about how he's competing with China. Like that was it. And I had to show him another business that sells the exact same thing, positions themselves in a great way. It's a commodity. It's a commodity. The thing that he's selling is a commodity. And they were selling for like, 2.5 times more than what he was, and they had a bigger audience, and it was almost the same product. And he still couldn't grasp it. He still could not grasp that concept, and he was trying to grasp it. And so one of the things that I took away was kind of like what Travis is like. Some people love the hacks and are so hungry for it because that's the only way that their mind can operate. Is like, I am an implementer of hacks. That's what I know to do. To think creatively about how to grow my brand is not how my mind works. So I remember coming home and telling my wife that, like, golly, like this is actually really, really difficult for people to think this way, no matter how many times you tell them. And but also just like I stood back and I looked at you two and I was like, man, how awesome is it that we get to do this? I was like, this is our first event. We've got 20 some odd people here, and they're loving it. We're loving it, and they're all trying their best. And I felt like the future was bright. So yeah, it was a great event. Tons of takeaways. I want to jump into Dr. Barry's, but is there anything else you guys wanted to share about the event, or any other insights that you had? You don't have to before we jump into like just Dr. Barry's updates.
I think just generally speaking, so we went out a day early and spent a day together just working on Freedom Brand stuff. And it was a really good reminder to me of how, like, I love virtual work. I've been doing it for 10 plus years at this point. Every team I've ever run has been virtual, but it is so interesting to actually get together, and it just accelerates so many things. So I guess for me, that was a good reminder to do that more. And don't forget about that part.
Yeah. Masterminding and networking is one of the biggest things. I tell people, I even said at the beginning of the event when I was first talking, like, what I say, you may get 1 or 2 things out of, and it may make you feel good for a time, but it's the relationships. It's the person sitting next to you that's going to make the biggest difference. And I met you two at networking events, at masterminding events, at conferences. That's how I met both of you. And now we're business partners. There were 5 business partners in that room of mine that I met through an event. I met them all through an event, through somebody else, through networking, through a conference, one was through a farmer's market. But it's just the fact that you have to get out there and shake hands, hold babies to make business relations.
Man, what kind of networking events are you going to, man? You're
Yeah,
holding babies out there, Doc?
I'll
You
do
ever
the
been to a
hands
ClickFunnels
thing,
event?
I have not. Are there babies there?
Oh my gosh, there's so many kids. He has an event in the summer that is made for kids. And so like the whole event's around kids, and like half the audience is like the children of all the ClickFunnels members.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I had
That's
no
awesome.
idea.
No, it sounds like a massive headache, but it's
It's kind of cool at the same time, because even like half the speakers on stage are kids that have made like $1 million.
jeez. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's incredible. All right, let's go into Dr. Barry's. I had this one, and some of this is fed from the event. And I just had this thought with Dr. Barry's that I wanted to ask you two about. You know, at the event, so many of the people, even at the $1 million to below, all they could see was what was not happening. I also thought it was interesting that someone wanted us to speak towards the tariffs situation. It's like, yes, we quote unquote have a stage, but what authority do we have? You know, like,
And we manufacture in the US mostly.
It's like, I'm not a tariffs expert. Like, you shouldn't want me to tell you what to think about tariffs. But I just noticed, like, there's a healthy level of being unsatisfied, right? In business, it's like you always want to be looking for ways to become more efficient or better at providing the service that you provide, growing, making your employees, you know, better leaders, all of that stuff. But there was a sense, you know, with each one of these brands, some of them had peaked before, but most of them were the biggest that they'd ever been, right? And for the ones at the top, it was providing consistent cash flow that, like, one lady there she is running $1 million brand by herself.
$3.5 million brand.
$3.5 million brand by herself, no previous experience other than like doing stuff on eBay, and just recently like had some part-time moms that help her with some stuff, like packaging, because she fulfills it. They fulfill by themselves. And then like just brought on her husband, which I thought was really cool. She was like, I'm not helping him. He's got to figure it out in here. I'm not his babysitter. I was like, dang, ruthless. But it didn't feel like any of them were excited about the future for their personal brand. Maybe the soap maker guy, he genuinely seemed like he was excited about the future. And maybe you guys had more conversations, but with so many of them. And so I would love to, one, did you guys notice that? And it's fine if you didn't. Two, do you feel the same way? And I'm trying to gauge, is this like a seasonal thing in e-commerce, or is this the way it's always been? Like, Doc, Deacon, you guys have literally been in front of brand owners forever. Is this the way it's always been? Is like, fill me in, and maybe you have some thoughts on this, but I'll start with Deacon, then go to the Doc, and just like, yeah,
it's definitely not the way it's always been. I noticed that too. Or it didn't seem like anyone was having problems like, oh, my wallet's too small for my 50s and my diamond shoes are too tight. It wasn't problems like that. It was like most of the problems that people were having, it seemed like were businesses in decline or some like not exciting problems. The brands I'm working in now, for example, they all have, you know, the good problems of dealing with scale and stuff like that. And they do have this sense that the future is bright. They have their own problems too. But no, I did notice that. And I don't know if it's like a systemic thing. Like everybody out there is feeling this right now, which I also don't think is true, because I work in two brands that don't feel that, and they are growing and things are going well. But yeah, I did pick up on that.
Yeah. Do you feel that way in Dr. Barry's? Would you say I feel more like them when it comes to Dr. Barry's, or would you feel like I feel a little different, or I don't know?
I'd say similar but different. I haven't opened my Amazon seller app in like a week out of fear. But I do not view that as a systemic problem. Whereas some people there were like, my business is in decline. I think my view on Dr. Barry's is We are playing the Amazon game. Sometimes you win it. Sometimes don't show me, Travis. Don't show me. I don't want to see.
Had to give you your anti-dopamine hit.
So we're not winning the Amazon game right now. And it's a weird thing because on the Amazon, it's like results create more results.
Yeah.
And if those results are negative, it's a downward spiral. If they're positive, it's a virtuous cycle. And we're in the negative one right now. But I don't view that as like brand ruined or anything. Like it's something we can solve and get out of and fix. And I think you've heard some of our plans for that in the previous episode.
Yeah. No, that's great. Doc, what about you?
I think I'm going to answer your question, but if I don't, rephrase it to me. What you see in the Amazon space, I think ever since, so 2014 to like 2017 was like the Wild West. People were just like printing. It was like an ATM. It literally was. You throw up a product, it takes off, it gets tons of reviews because you buy them. And then like it's like a cash printing machine. And so everybody's on this big offensive, like growing as fast as possible. I've seen lots of brands get in trouble because they grew too fast. And some even went bankrupt because they grew too fast. And what you're seeing now is consolidation. And so the brands that scaled really quickly, then when 2021 hit, the consolidation occurred. China moved in. People came in. People were racing to the bottom on price. And when that happens, you create this like defensive mode where you don't hire as fast. You're doing everything yourself because you can't afford. So you think to bring on new people, and you don't have the mindset of, if I bring on this person, it should expand my business.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just take a job off my plate. Most people have that mindset of like, this is going to take a job off my plate, not this person should expand my business. And so it's a combination of that plus defense. So many entrepreneurs go into defense mode once they hit $1 million, and they don't do what got them there over and over again.
Wow.
They kind of shrink back. And I am at fault to this. Like I play defense as well. I've gone into defensive mode many times. I've done it in the agency. I've done it with iLove. I'm even doing it with this Freedom Brands, like us moving forward. We talked that through over the weekend, and it's defense. I mean, like I've made millions of dollars. I have a good nest egg, and it's like defense. I don't know if I want to risk any of that to go more, but it's just like, what do I have to lose? Like, what's the worst that happens? And I always go through that scenario, and I even have it on a spreadsheet. Yes, Justice, I have it on a spreadsheet. Is if shit hit the fan, like what I would do. And the worst case scenario is, and it tells me how much cash flow I'd have left to do that. It's for Jenna more than me. But if worst case scenario, and we had to buy a trailer, a camper, and travel the US in a camper and live with our parents, we have like 45 years of cash flow to maintain that. And it's like, oh, well, that's not so bad then. And so defense, like the defensive mindset, the scarcity mindset, like it just overtakes you as an entrepreneur because you then start acting out of fear. And we see it all the time. And it's happening more now, especially with the softer economy, with the tariffs doing whatever it is. And I say that loosely because it's happened before. It's going to happen again. You can't control it. So take advantage of what you can control, which is building your audience, serving your customer, reaching out to people. And so like start focusing on what you can control, releasing more products, launching more products, building that customer base, and stop worrying about tariffs and softening it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I loved the history of it because I don't know that history. And so I walk into a room and I'm so impressed that we, like our first event, we have this many sellers at the higher level at like an event at someone's house that you've been on their email list or seen their YouTube videos and you like, but you're now paying to come to this event in Ohio. And like, it's like, we got some really top tier people, I feel like, and good people, but I was kind of like,
and half didn't show up.
Yeah. And I kind of go like, why so gloomy? You know, like it was like, is the world going to end soon? I think you don't have to work. You know, I think things are good, but with that history, I have context and I go, I get it. Okay.
Travis, I'm intrigued by the spreadsheet idea, and you don't have to get into details, but I'm dying to know, what is the title of the spreadsheet?
Ooh, the title of the spreadsheet. It's a combination of multiple spreadsheets in one. So
And
it is called, you ready?
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta copy and paste it. It's too long. It's called Asset Allocation plus Investments plus Cryptocurrency Trading Log plus Profit First Income Tithing Investments Credit Card Insurance Personal for Travis and Jenna Ziegler.
You're terrible at titling
That's
things.
disappointing.
It's
Does
titled
it
that.
specify let's get into this trailer a little bit. Are we talking like fifth wheel? Because I've seen your cars. You're not pulling a trailer here. Did you account for this?
Yes,
Yeah,
I did. I
started.
counted.
Yeah, dude, why don't you just do that? It sounded kind of awesome.
I know. I'm
describing it. I was like, so why aren't you doing that?
It
now I
accounts
have to
for
watch
the
out
truck.
to make sure he doesn't over risk something.
He's
Because
like,
he's
we would
like,
get a
that doesn't sound
camper.
so bad.
We travel all over wherever we wanted, and then we stay at our parents. So if that happened and that's the worst, we have 45 years of cash. I was like, sounds like you should do that. Like,
It's not off the table, that's for sure.
With young kids living in a trailer, like there is something to that wasn't fully painted out. So
the fifth wheel is nice because you got the bed over the fifth wheel, and that can kind of be like your room off. I had a fifth wheel growing up, and it was my grandparents, and their room was like walled off from like the rest of the camper. It was pretty sweet. You could like close the door, had its own bathroom, shower, and like beds. And then there was the living room and kitchen, and then the other beds were in the back. And then we were never allowed to sleep in it. We always had to sleep outside.
Ouch. Anyway, I love it. I've thoroughly derailed us, but I think that's a really interesting concept.
But speaking of the event, everybody there homeschooled their kids.
Yeah.
And so Jenna's like, we should probably homeschool our kids. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In a
So that may happen sooner than later.
Yeah. It's a game changer. Can we just call it just to save your Excel document from like breaking because of the title is so long? If shit hits the fan, there's your.
That's just one sheet.
Gosh, that's a
There's
lot.
a lot going on. It is our main Excel spreadsheet for everything.
Wow. Okay.
Please nobody hack my account and take it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You said something and I thought it was kind of interesting. You said in Freedom Brands, I'm playing defense right now. Do you want to share? We know because we had an awesome dinner together or lunch. No, it was a dinner. Where we kind of shared. Did I help you get that breakthrough, that mindset breakthrough where we got the insight?
I don't think it was a breakthrough. It was just kind of a admission.
So you had known about this?
Yeah. I mean, I can feel it. It's
wow.
It's scary. It is scary. I think what scares me is I know what goes on Amazon brands, and I know how shady characters can
give context.
In this space.
Give context to this.
So we're looking to buy the next brand, and we're going a lot bigger than we did with Dr. Barry's. Dr. Barry's was pretty much no EBITDA, no earnings, no profit, and we were just buying it for inventory essentially. And we got a seller's note over 4 years, 0%, no risk on our hands. So if the business defaults, it goes back to the previous owners. That's it. And so there's no risk there. So we're going after now a brand that has 200,000 in profit up to $1 million in profit. And so if you have a brand out there that's in the supplement space, that's over 3 years old, that's between 200,000 and 1 million in profit, we would love to talk to you more, because that's what we're looking to acquire. And that day in particular, we were just going through brand after brand after brand. One brand looked really good, and we started looking at it even closer, and it's at like 1.5 million in EBITDA in earnings. And so it's going for around $6 million after all is said and done with inventory and everything. And that made me incredibly nervous, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes on that brand. He could be manipulating reviews. He could be buying reviews. He could be doing things that Amazon does not like. And you can buy that brand and they can shut it down like that because of something the previous owner was doing. And you have no recourse. Like, you're at the mercy of what that previous owner did. So that's why I'm kind of scared to go for a bigger brand. I would be more comfortable in the 200,000 earnings range because $600,000 isn't as much. It still is a lot, but it's not as much as a $6 million loan, which is, 10 times the loan volume. Like I think the loan was like a $73,000 a month loan versus $7,300 a month. And so big, huge difference there between loan size. And 7,300 is something that we could cover. I mean, if worse comes to worse, we were suspended for 3 months, we could cover that. 73,000, yeah, it's getting a little tough. And I've been there before. So I had a $47,000 a month loan payment that almost bankrupted my company because of stupidity and ego on my part. And an SBA loan where we got to refinance it to a 10-year loan allowed us to refinance it to then save our business. And so I think the trauma of that, plus we talked about bringing in investors, and I've done that before. I brought in investors and it ended up being a Ponzi scheme. And so like trauma of that, I don't realize I have that trauma, but like it's there. And so that scares me moving forward. Even though like if we started out smaller, like a $200,000 to $400,000 EBITDA, it wouldn't scare me as much as like the $1.5 million. But if we raise money, it's a different story. But then that other trauma comes in. So like I have this trauma battle going back and forth. I think the big thing is I wouldn't raise from friends and family again.
You're like looking at your spreadsheet. That 45 years goes down to about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And now, it's not a fifth wheel.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Now it's a fold out.
Fold out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the worst.
Did you, Deacon, have anything that you wanted to share to that? Like Freedom Brand's in a defensive mode. And it makes it, I wish there was another word for it, because defensive isn't like, Doc, you have a whole strategy of creating a moat around your business. That's defensive. I think what we're talking about here is being unnecessarily defensive. Like when, like in a time where it's like, every business needs to move forward.
It is really interesting because I mean, Dr. Barry's was basically risk-free. It's tiny. You guys have heard the income reports. Nobody's getting rich off this thing anytime soon. I won't even open the Amazon seller app this week. And so to some degree, it's like, well, do you want to like stack a bunch of those together? And now we're basically into like sweat equity land, for lack of a better term, or you want to just, yes. Or I'm going to be living in the trailer before this is over. Or do we want to like actually go bigger? And so I love that we brought that brand, that brand came up, because I guess a kind of more general point that you could apply to a lot of things is it forced us to have a lot of conversations around this and find a lot of things, because we're looking at this opportunity and we're like, this is great. I don't see any red flags. So what would have to be true to actually acquire this? And then it was all kinds of things like, well, how much cash are you willing to put out of your own pocket? What would you think about investors? How would we pull that off? Who would we call this week if we needed to put an LOI in? And so probably missing the boat on that, just timing wise, because we're not fully prepared. But I think the point stands. I love these scenarios that are, take the thing that you want to do, multiply it by 10, whatever that looks like in that scenario. And then things start to come up like, oh, like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Or what about this? And so I think that to me was probably one of the biggest values of that. I'm going to keep pursuing it, not as like a deal that I think I can get done soon enough, but as a, like, my goal now is in the next few weeks, how can we be prepared as a group to actually make an offer on a brand like that and just put all those pieces in place? Cause there's going to be another one. And so I guess that was my big takeaway, was like, I'm glad we're here talking about this in person, seeing the physical reactions of like, hey, Travis, why don't you plunk 400 grand down on this one? Okay.
It was 600 grand to be correct.
But like that question gets a lot of interesting answers out, right? Of like, why not? Oh, great. Now we've got a whole bunch of things. How can we de-risk this and do it anyway? Because, people succeed in these deals all the time. So yeah, that was for me the big value of the deal. And one reason I'm going to keep working at it to actually be equipped to do it next time?
I wrote this down. Like, I agree with you because it was like, if we had never had that come up, because it kind of was like the perfect brand, a little bit bigger outside, but it was kind of like, hey, this checks all the boxes. What gives? And it allowed all this other stuff to come out that was like, we wouldn't have been able to, because all the other brands, there was kind of like, yeah, but it's got this, or it's that were legit, that were like, sorry, no. And I could speak to Dr. Travis's like fear. You know, it's not the only, I had a guy that bought a brand, Amazon brand, no experience. And it was like a camping wipe, like a body wipe for campers. And he bought it from some guys. The numbers were crazy. Like, it had so much potential. It was growing. The branding was incredible. So he buys it. And then his competitor, his now competitor, emails him and he's like, how are you able to sell those? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, there's an FDA thing specifically against your wipe.
No.
And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, it's not against like wipes. It's your wipe. And he's like, So he looks into it and it's like, he can't sell it. And the guys that sold it to him are gone. He can't get a hold of them. It was a really so he's doing the legal thing, but he's just kind of like, he's done well for himself. He's like, I just got to take it on the chin. It was a learning thing, but it wasn't cheap. And so like, I hear Dr. Ziegler stuff. I'm like, no, the fears are valid. Like, they're totally valid. And not being able to see, I think we have a little bit more expertise on seeing. This other guy came from retail chain. He sold his retail chain, and then now he is jumping into e-commerce. But yeah, the risk is real. So I think it's really good. Here's the next question I have. Is there anything you guys wanted to add before I went on to the next thing?
This kind of reminds me of, we made an offer on a brand in January, and Travis did a bunch of homework behind the scenes, off-market deal, and he does all this homework. It's like, all right, guys, I know exactly the number that's going to get them to say yes. Makes the offer, and it was like, panic city, not accepted. And so I thought so this reminded me of that, because it's one of those questions, Justice, that I feel like you really are good at, where you're like, great, here's the thing. And then when people are all, whoa, and like all the stuff starts coming out, like the real stuff.
Yeah.
So it was almost like we did that to ourselves accidentally.
Yeah. Totally. Hey, Ray J, we got Ray J watching us right now. I have this whole thing right now where I've just come back to over and over and over again. One of them is like, the person needs to be obsessed either about the business, like just obsessive about business. They love business, or they need to be obsessed about the product that they're selling. Like we saw that with Phil, the soap guy. He had gone the extra lengths, and like, if you're obsessed about the product, you can find and it's a good, awesome product. You can find the people around you that will help you get it out and like sell it. If you're smart enough about that. Or you're really obsessed with the people that it serves. Like, you're just obsessed with them and like helping them. It's best if you have all three, but I've seen people that only have one of those do really well. But you have to have one of those three. And all of this comes back to, like, for me, I've just come back to, especially having done sales and stuff, is like conviction. Of like, when the owner is like convicted of like, this is it. Either this thing I have is it, and they speak from that level of conviction. We could have 15 people selling protein powder. The one with the most conviction about why his protein powder is the best will dial it in to your needs, no matter what it is. You need a used car, he will be able to tell you why this protein powder is going to help you get a used car, and he will position it as like the best protein powder for car buyers, because it sharpens your mind to overcome every deal and every used car salesman. And there's nothing like it, right? They're just convicted. There's nothing else that they can think about. And I've been wondering with you guys in like Dr. Barry's or just Freedom Brands as a whole, you could pick either one or both. What do you feel like the most convicted by or about within this? And I say that because sitting down and listening to Doc go through the plan with other people that we have already committed to, it just reaffirmed this conviction I have around, like, I was like, man, we should totally do this. Like, it was like, yeah, this is great. This is it. And then like, no one took photos of me, but no big deal. They took the photos of you. But what are you guys like most convicted about? We'll start with you, Doc. And if the conviction's not there, you're just like, hey, I think this is a good thing and we should go after it. That's fine too. But yeah, what within Dr. Barry's or Freedom Brands?
Jay-Z said it best. You can't help the poor if you're poor.
Ooh.
And so you need money to help the poor, and you need help. You need money to help, not just the poor, but people that are in need. And my whole why goes back to blindness. There are 1 billion people blind due to lack of glasses. And that's a lot of people. Like, you probably need more than $1 billion to help 1 billion people. And so how can I make as much money as possible while I'm here, and then funnel that money into a nonprofit to then help build sustainability in this glasses arena? That's like my whole why. That's what I started back in 2007. I became an optometrist in 2010, but I went on a mission trip in 2007. And that's kind of what opened my eyes to this whole world of like, wow, we're really lucky here in the US, and we need to use this towards good. And then I've been a Christian my whole life, but then I became more Christ-like and followed him when we lost our second son, which was 2019. Again, going to church before that, but then like went all in on 2019 when that happened, because it was like my complete surrender moment. And if you study him, I mean, that's what he does, is he just serves. That's all he does, is he just serves. And the Beatitudes, it's all about service. And you know more about it than I do, but that's what I'm trying to do with my life, is just serve as much as I can by helping other entrepreneurs, by helping those in need of glasses. And the key thing is, there, like, when you help other entrepreneurs make more money, then they can help more people. So you create this effect that you don't even know what effect you have, because it just creates this like flywheel of people that help others. And I think the biggest example in our space of this right now is Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels. He has impacted so many lives, and a lot of people in his tribe are helping other people overcome alcoholism, or prevent divorce. And so I'm trying to take all my money and put it towards that. And so how can I make as much money as possible? Well, Freedom Brand's plan to $100 million exit, or making it so much fun we don't want to sell it, we just collect cash all the time, is that plan to make as much money as possible. 10 brands, 10 million in profit in 10 years, to sell for $100 million in 10 years. And so it's a very simple plan. And I saw it. I lived it for 18 months when I sold my brand. And I was like, this is way too easy. This is like way easier than what I did building iLove from $0 to $500,000 a month. Like, that was a lot of work. I put in a lot of time, a lot of sweat equity. And then I sell to this private equity firm, and I was like, this is really simple. Like, it's not easy, but it is simple. And the CEO is incredibly stressed out, but it doesn't have to be, I don't think. And so seeing that, I was like, I want to try this. And so my fun is building that and getting over my mental blocks. Whenever I get extremely uncomfortable and go over my fears that I went over with you guys, that's when I know I'm on the right path. When I feel a tug in a certain direction and I feel incredibly uncomfortable, I know I'm on the right path. And so Freedom Brands makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I'm working with new partners, you two, that I've never like worked with in this setting before. That's why we did Dr. Barry's, because it's nice and small, so we can get a feel for it. But then I'm ready for the next big jump, then the next big jump. And I know in 5 years, my fears that I'm having today will be nothing, because we'll be buying a $2 million EBITDA brand. And so my conviction all goes back to my why of blindness, and how can I make as much money here and make as much impact here, over here, to then funnel it back over to there. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. What about you, Deacon?
Yeah, Travis, I thought you were just going to give us a big talk about acid reflux and how much you're driven by that as a problem.
So that is the cool part about supplements, though, is because you can help so many more people with the supplement side. And so with iLove, we helped a lot of people with dry eye, but we also helped them overcome health issues by giving them like natural ways. And that's why I chose supplements as my route, because you can actually help people as a doctor. You know, I have that like moral ethical code of wanting to help people in health. And so acid reflux is just one vehicle. Hiatal health or hiatal hernias is another. Liver support's another. Dry eye is another, coming soon. And all these other ones are just other vehicles to then put out this health mission, which then creates its own flywheel. Because when you make people healthier, they can then produce in the world. And quick example, sorry, I hijacked you. Vision, going back to vision. I see it in Jamaica all the time. Jamaica's an island, so a lot of fishermen. When fishermen get to be about 50 or 60 years old, they can no longer read. And so if they can't read, they can't fish. All you have to do is throw a plus 250 pair of readers on them that we can pick up at the drugstore here in the US for $1, and they can now fish again. But when they couldn't fish, they'd become beggars. And so they go from fishing, providing for their family, to becoming beggars, to then going back to providing for their family again. And one more quick story. We saw a 10-year-old and gave him glasses. He was extremely nearsighted, which means he could see about 5 inches in front of him and closer, and that was it. He disrupted the school. He was a troublemaker in class. We gave him glasses. We got to see him 12 years later, and he was the manager at the Sandals resort we were staying because of those glasses. And he came in and thanked us, and he was like, I am here because of you all. If you didn't give me those glasses when I was 10 years old, I would not be standing here as the manager of the Sandals, because I became one of the best students in the school after I was able to start seeing, but I didn't know I couldn't see. So that's why.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What about you, DK?
Come on, man. Do I really have to go now?
I know, right? I should have started with you.
All right, bringing it back a little bit to product. What I think is interesting, like I'm very passionate about types of products, and I'm sure Justice and Travis got an earful from me in Ohio about all types of different things that should be made this way, or I don't know. But like when it comes to supplements and acid reflux, like I've never been the guy who's like, oh, I'm so product passionate, I'm going to sell this thing. And as a result, I've never been, I like to blame this on that. I never have been like the brand starter. And so buying has really appealed to me, because I'm from StrengthsFinder, which Justice kind of guided me through, years back at this point. One of mine is Maximizer. And so I love to get my hands on like great things and just really maximize them and grow them and nurture them. But it's not a huge deal to me if that thing is acid reflux or, liver support or whatever it is. It's almost like my passion is excellence on the business side. But I'm happy to apply that to any number of different things, because I'm not like, oh my gosh, I run a couple dog supplement brands. I'm like, I'm barely a dog person, but I just love running those with excellence and seeing them grow because we did the right things and made the right choices and that kind of thing. And so Freedom Brands is really an extension of that for me. I think it's one reason I'm really open to buying a lot of different types of brands. It's more about getting to that future impact. But yeah, I just kind of I view it as like a game, and with really clear rules, and it's really fun to play. And also a game that you can lose and wind up in a travel trailer if you
Yeah.
and that makes it quite interesting.
Right.
And I talked about this at the conference last Friday too, but I couldn't do like my vision alone, nor did I want to do it alone. And so that's why I wanted to get people that had the same core values as me, that had the same kind of heart as me, that once they go on a mission trip with me, they are hooked on for life, even though it's quote unquote, it's not my mission, it's God's mission, but the mission that was given to me, they then get hooked on that mission because they've experienced it. Like we go on these mission trips, I'm going on one in a week, and you don't actually help them as much as they help you, because the impact they have on you is so much greater. And I'll get both of you guys on a mission trip sometime. Maybe Deacon more than
Oh
Justice.
yeah, no, I'll go. Justice, can you drive to Jamaica? I think,
Dude,
I think
okay,
that's
guys,
how we
all
get
right.
justice there.
All right, look.
Moving on. Moving on.
No. If you want to know what this weekend was like at the event between me and Deacon, you just experienced it. He had whatever that zinger gun is, he had it on auto, just drilling me with all of these little backhanded comments. All right. Guys, was there anything else you guys wanted to share today? Anything you wanted to go over from Dr. Barry's before we wrap up the call?
This isn't like a go over thing, just a quick update because we've been doing so much on Dr. Barry's lately. We have next product. I just finished the label for it, got the final version back today. So we are going forward with that. And yeah, I think it should, I don't know, ballpark. It's going to take me another week to read the email from the guy about how to do this. Cause my gosh, that guy sends the longest, most complex emails about, here's your next steps. And it's like 1,000 words. And so anyway, once I get all that paperwork in, I think we're probably only about 2 to 3 weeks out from actually having that product in Amazon in hand. So that's coming up. I would say by the end of May, we should be selling on a listing that already has good reviews and has been used in the past. And so really excited about that next one.
50 reviews, 4.8 stars. I built the perpetual sales machine today and I'll finish it up tomorrow. And so right when that gets live, we'll turn that on and start testing it.
Guys, things are running, things are going. I think this was a great episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. And yeah, let's go.
Freedombrands.net.
Freedombrands.net.